everybody. Welcome, 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 welcome. Please continue to put your names in the chat where you are calling in from. We are very happy that you're here with us. We have a question that we want you to also think about as we are starting our Protect, Resist, and Build session today. I want you to think about one thing we must resist, one thing that we must build, and one thing that we must protect. Keep it to one word, one phrase. But I want us, as we going through this session today, to just think about one thing we want to protect, one thing we must resist, and one thing we must build right now. All right, my name is Anyango Reggie Gregory. I am the Associate Regional Director for the South Region, and I've worked with AFSC for, I think it's been about 13 years now. And just a fun fact, this is my second time to facilitate the Protect, Resist, and Build session. So I guess I didn't do so badly last time. They invited me back. So that's a proud moment for me. And I'm really, really happy to be here with all of you. And we're going to take a moment of silence, but I thought it would be good to let you know what the artist that you listened to was saying. The artist is Gugush, an Iranian artist that my friend and colleague told me about. And so, Edith Segon, thank you so much for turning me on to this artist. The lyrics say, it's about, it means again, and it expresses hope, it expresses grief and resistance. And it says, my Iran, the torture chamber of the innocent, my Iran, 80 something million hostages, my fellow with a voice stuck in your throat. The tearful night would reach the storm, O companion. Iran will be Iran again. Iran will be Iran again. In a land where the struggle for power is a masculine, woman life freedom, you stood up for women's rights. I believe in your tomorrow and your generation, the dawn of the first experience of freedom. You showed the path of tomorrow in the darkness. They struck you thousands of times, but you did not fall. Watching you from afar, no, we should only praise you. You are our legends. We should only honor you. Iran will be Iran again. Iran will be Iran again. Let's just take a moment of silence, a centering silence, as we begin our time together this evening. Thank you, everybody. As we enter into our second year of these webinars, we are going to focus today on the framework of protect, resist, and build as a way of resisting authoritarianism in this moment, using this theme of protect, resist, and build. And so we are really saddened about what's going on in our country and around the world, but we also know that it's our collective responsibility to be aware of what's going on and to find ways to create good trouble in this moment. So today we are going to have an analysis of the current one of the current global crisis. We know that there's a lot of conflict, war and conflict that's happening around the world, but we want to focus on what's on our hearts and our minds right now, which is Iran. And so we will talk about Iran. We have a guest speaker, and then we will move into New Orleans. One of my friends and colleagues from New Orleans is going to talk about how in her community they're using sustainable and equitability rooted in self-determination, pointing us to the future beyond authoritarianism, because we know that this too shall pass. This is not all that there is. And so we are going to think about, as we reflect on this current moment, we're also going to think about what comes next? How can we plan and prepare for what is to come beyond authoritarianism? We encourage everyone to not just focus on the information. Information is important, especially in this time when we have so much misinformation. So information is not bad to have information, but we want you to really lean into a focus on the heart. What are you hearing? What are you learning? What are some of your faith learnings? How is it leading you towards not just information but transformation in this moment? And so I want to shift gears a little bit and move to my colleague Jesse, who is the assistant to the Associate General Secretary for U.S. programs at American Friends Service Committee. Jesse is does many things at AFSC, including conferences and pulling us together as U.S. Programs. And so, Jesse, I want to turn it over to you to introduce the Love as Action work that we're doing.
Thanks so much, Anyango. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I
And Jesse, let me interrupt and just ask Barbara to stop sharing because I think you're going to share some slides now.
I am going to share some slides now. Uh, okay. I don't know why it's sharing like that, but can you all see my slides?
Yes, we can.
Great. So I'm here today to talk about Love is Action, which is our silent public witness resisting current authoritarianism and a lot of issues that we're all dealing with and kind of like processing at this moment, and looking for ways to speak up and share our voice. And this is a more unique opportunity to kind of share it in silence, as some of our people have said. And this is our fourth Love is Action Vigil this March 21st and 22nd with AFSC so far. So we started in December and we had a themed Love is Action. And now we are inviting communities across the country to continue to come out and do a Quaker-led silent vigil for an hour, but it is open to anyone of any faith or denomination, and they can kind of come, tailored to their community or focus on, kind of a broad range of issues. So I have some pictures from our last few vigils. So far, we've had 20 cities across the country participate in Love is Action. It's been really fantastic to see it grow from just 5 cities in December to over 20 last month. People in Des Moines, Iowa showed up in below zero weather. In Philadelphia, we dealt with the rain and cold. We had full families show up together, young people who hadn't done anything like this before, people who had never participated in any sort of protest or hadn't been comfortable participating in some protests previously were kind of able to take the step up and not only come to a Love is Action vigil, but host their own, which is something that I think is really special about Love is Action. People that we have talked to, including our organizers that you can read their experiences on, have said this is one of the easiest things to organize, which sounds kind of like a sales pitch, but is genuine. We really try and help provide you all the tools possible to bring this vigil to your community, and share it with others. Brian Core in Massachusetts, he posted it. He decided 3 days before the January vigil, only had 6 signups and had almost 50 people show up on that Saturday. So it's something that a lot of people feel really called to. And as you can see, we encourage people to bring their own signs focused on their own issues, but we also try our best to help provide some signs too. And I am proud to say that this month we have over 25 cities participating. These are the list of cities that we already have participating in this month. As you can see, there's quite a few Pennsylvania locations, so my home state is well represented. But it's been great. We have people from Reno who have never been connected to AFSC before joining. We have people who are currently on staff or ex-staff who are able to participate. So it's something really lovely. And the greatest thing about a Love is Action Vigil is it can be just one person or it can be 100 people. It's really the energy you choose to bring to it. There's no curriculum or anything like that. You're just going out and standing in witness against the rising authoritarianism we are having. Um, it was, I think, very important this weekend. We have it going on, which does coincide with both Eid and Nowruz, which I know is obviously a lot heavier this time around due to everything going on. And this is a great opportunity for people of like multiple faiths to kind of come out and stand and witness and support those who cannot celebrate what should be a joyous occasion this upcoming March 21st and 22nd. Um, yes, you absolutely can. I am not a Quaker, and I am a co-host of the Philadelphia Love is Action. So we highly encourage people who just stand with Quaker values to connect and consider hosting their own Love is Action. And um, we have quite a few people who are, standing up and hosting despite not being affiliated with a Quaker meeting, not being Quaker themselves, none of that. It's just, you know, led by Quaker principles and is styled as a Quaker vigil. So you're doing, silent witness compared to some other things. We do include some song every now and again, though. So if you're interested in singing or sharing, another great thing about Love is Action is you can kind of curate it to your community. So if you do want to get involved, and here's a good example of that, I think this is in Memphis, they did kind of like more of a sharing circle. So they sat in silent witness and then, shared some thoughts and had all their signs on the back of their chairs. So it's very flexible to the kind of event you desire or works for your community or who you're able to come and bring. And so, how to get involved, it's really easy, or at least we try and make it easy. And if it's not, there's an email that I would love for you to reach out to me at. Um, so you can attend an action, as I said, at one of those 28 cities that we currently have listed, or you could take your chance at hosting an action. And if you can't March, we have upcoming actions happening in April on the 25th and 26th. And then we also have hopefully actions going out further we're working on right now. So that's a hot tip that is coming down the line. Um, and then if you can't come to a Love is Action Vigil, it would mean a lot if you could still connect with us, join our mailing list, or maybe share the events for other people to be able to join. And right here on the screen, I have the Love is Action website. If you go on there, there's a lot of information. There's a full, amazing organizer's toolkit that gets you everything you need if you've never done this before. And if you still need some extra help or have some questions, there is a Love is Action email. I am part of the team that manages that email. I promise we are very good at responding. So if you have any questions, you're just confused, you're not sure, you want to try something new, please don't hesitate to send us an email and ask a question. Um, we'd love to kind of see this grow, and there's a lot that we have to stand and witness against, and I think it's really important to see us all show up for that. So yeah, that's kind of my quick Love is Action spiel. And again, if you have any other questions, please feel free to ring me an email. You can't ring those, but feel free to do it.
Wow, thank you, Jesse. That is so inspiring. Love as action is one of the many things we are doing to resist during these times. It feels good to be able to make sure that our voices, our witness, our amens are being added to the many things that are going on here in this country and around the world, and that gives me a lot of hope. In Atlanta, we've seen a lot of people who are new to organizing saying, "Hey, we want to get involved." And Mary put something in the chat that is so important. Sometimes these start with just a couple of people, and we've seen them grow because more people are looking for ways in these times to get involved, to resist, to protect, right? To build. And so we want to continue to do that in as many ways as we are able to do in this time. So I want to shift gears and turn it over to another one of my colleagues, Mike Merriman Lotz, who will introduce our one of our speakers for this evening. And Mike is AFSC's Just Peace Global Policy Director. And Mike, I'm just going to turn it over to you. Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah. Thank you for Yeah, welcoming us. Yeah, and thank you all for joining. As Jesse mentioned, this week is the end of Ramadan, and Thursday night or Friday will be Eid al-Fitr, one of the most significant holidays on the Muslim calendar. And this week will also be Nowruz, the Persian New Year. And we wanted to start out with that because this is a very heavy period in which there's going to be both a mix of mourning and celebration by people, and um, that mourning is caused by the war, which now is entering its third week. The U.S. on February 28th attacked Iran, and we are now in a situation where at least 1,400 people in Iran have been killed, and around 13 U.S. Service members. And the conflict in Iran, which is will be the focus, has really impacted the whole of the Middle East and all of that region. I'm going to be inviting Itan Mubarak to speak to us today about the situation in Iran, what the reality is on the ground, some of the political dynamics, and also what people can do to push back against this war, some of the actions that you can take to oppose what is happening. But before he comes on, I'm also going to say just a little bit about some of the impacts outside of the region. I think that we're hearing a lot about, or outside of you know, Iran and the direct impacts of that war. There are also impacts in the wider region, particularly in Lebanon and Gaza, that we want to make sure that we're mentioning as we're talking about everything else. So, as all of this unfolded, um, there have been renewed attacks by Israel on Lebanon over the last week and a half. There have now been over 900 people in Lebanon who've also been killed. There were significant attacks on Beirut today. This started, within the media frame with the firing of some rockets by Hezbollah into Israel after the U.S. and Israeli attacks on Iran. But I think it's important to say that, since there was a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon after the 2024 war, there have been over 10,000 ceasefire violations by Israel into Lebanon during that period, including assassinations, bombings, overflights, incursions, and shelling. And so really this is an escalation of violence that has been happening for the last 18 months. And under the darkness in some ways that's been caused by what's been happening in Iran, violence has also escalated in both the West Bank and Gaza. In just the last 3 days, at least 18 Palestinians have been killed there, including a family of four in the West Bank, mother and father, and then two of their young children. Two other children were left orphaned. And in Gaza, just 2 days ago, 12 people were killed, including both a number of young children. Gaza has been again placed under an increased blockade where humanitarian assistance is limited, food is more limited, and there's concern about rising malnutrition again because of the restrictions that have been in place during the ongoing war between Israel and Iran and the attacks that are going on there. And the overall the U.S. decision to attack Iran is one that is threatening stability throughout the region, and threatening the lives of people, um, not just in Iran and Israel, but all of the surrounding area. And it's important to say that this was a war of choice. It's an illegal war, a war of aggression. And after World War II, the U.S. took steps to codify international laws of war to strengthen the international protections that were in place to stop war crimes, looking at what had happened during World War II, and the inadequacies of some of the laws that were in place. And as the US was codifying those laws, one of the things that was said during that period was that wars of aggression in particular are the roots of all other war crimes, that the war of aggression is in many ways the supreme crime, and that from it stems all other violence and destruction, out of war, and that it's um, and the United Nations and other systems were put in place to stop it. And whether it's in Iran or in Venezuela, and today there were new threats against Cuba, the U.S. has chosen to go down a path in which it is using its force aggressively against other countries. And as we push against this war, we need to be overall pushing against this U.S. policy that is based on an idea of might makes right, pushing for accountability and pushing for an end to violence. But as we push that, obviously, right now the big priority is bringing the war with Iran to an end and understanding what the impacts that it's having on people. And so, with that, I will be turning things over to Itan Mubarak, who is the National Organizing Manager for the National Iranian American Council. So welcome, Itan, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Mike, and everyone for being here. I'm not a Quaker myself. I'm Jewish Iranian American, but I'm very proud to say that I stand with Quaker values and really appreciate all the support that your members have shown me personally, actually, through the last several years in doing this kind of work. But yes, for those of you who don't know me, I work for NIAC, National Iranian American Council. We've been around for 20 years, dedicated to peace and diplomacy with Iran, civil rights, human rights, and equitable immigration. Obviously, the situation we're in right now is it's horrific for all of our members that I speak to. It's something that people have warned about and been worried about for years, but especially over the last few years, with the genocide in Gaza. Part of the asks that we've had has been for an Iran war powers resolution and to consider the regional elements of this that Mike touched on, but they are severe, and Trump and the advisors around him and the people who've been pushing for this war in many groups, people like Lindsey Graham and groups like FDD, the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, and NUFTI, the monarchist lobby that supports the installation of Reza Pahlavi, this constellation of groups that have been pushing for this war seems to have advised him, really incorrectly, that this would be a quick operation, that the regime would collapse through a decapitation operation, and they still seem to be operating under that assumption that with the killing of Larijani today, but with the initial extrajudicial killing of Khamenei, while I didn't shed a tear, so many Iranian American activist people in Evin prison, people like Mehdi Mahmoudyan, the co-writer of It Was Just an Accident, with Jafar Panahi, came out with public statements saying that Khamenei deserved a trial. He deserved to be discredited, in a public court, and the same for Larijani. And because of this strategy, which is in my view and in our view, a failed strategy and similar strategies to the ones that we employed in Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya. The environment on the ground is extremely chaotic, but no analysis that I've read suggests that this is going to end in a positive situation, or circumstance for massive Iranians to organize. All of the weapons are still in the hands of the IRGC. They still maintain significant capabilities to launch drones. They have a massive stockpile of cheap $50,000 Shahed drones. They have about 80,000 of them. They can produce 10,000 a month. It costs us $4 million per interceptor to shoot one down. And the costs of this war continue, and um, there does not seem to be a plan to restore passage for American or other ships through the Strait of Hormuz. And uh, those Iranian drones have been able to strike U.S. bases and allies in the Gulf throughout the region with numerous strikes. The U.S., including THAAD uh, radars, that we had to bring one unit over from Korea, actually, which caused some news over there. The regional elements of this war are significant, and the Iranian government seems to be willing to pay whatever cost, because the war has been made to be existential for them. And ordinary people that I've talked to, normal people who, many of whom have had family that participated in the protests in January, right? I mean, I'm so glad that you all opened this call with Gugush and songs about women life freedom, because the women life freedom movement is um, is a testament, is something we should all stand with. It's actually one of the more successful, broad, based Iranian-led democratic movements, and people fought and died for rights within their own country. If people go to Iran recently, women can walk around without the veil, because of that movement. It's fundamentally our belief, and I think everyone can echo this with their chest out, that Iran's future, of the country, should be decided by the 90 million people that live there, just as America's future should be decided by the 300 million people that live here. And I think that's a very basic principle. It flies in the face of these, uh, you know, groups like Foundation for Defense of Democracies and others who weaponize these. Um, Ideas that I still hold dear, and so many Americans do as well. But to underscore the civilian cost, and I'll share some links for you to review. NIAC maintains two newsletters, one a human rights tracker and an Iran Unfiltered newsletter. I'll share a few links for you of recent ones that we've put together, just on recent news. There was a series of letters uh, put out by Iranian. Oh, I'm struggling to copy and paste. Give me a moment. Forgive me. There was a series of letters put out from a number of Iranian civil society organizations, including the Narges Mohammadi Foundation. Narges Mohammadi is a Nobel Peace Prize winner. She's currently in Evin prison in solitary confinement, but her foundation is still very active. And a number of others calling for an immediate ceasefire, calling for accountability for apparent war crimes. And they also called for a UN facilitated democratic transition. I have my own feelings about that ask and its viability. But certainly the first two calls as Americans are actually things uh, that every lawmaker who wants to answer for their seat in the next election should have to stand on. And that's, do we want to continue this war? Do we want to continue funding it with the reported cost of $1 billion per day? And I think 18 billion as of now, and the proposed supplemental is for 50 billion. And I heard an additional report today that it may rise to as high as 100 billion in total requested spending for this war, which is absolutely absurd. But here is our uh, actually, can I ask Mary or someone else to share some of these links in the chat? Would that be all right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can do that.
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah. Um, but if you
That's
just
okay.
share,
Did you put them in the chat earlier?
I did,
Chat?
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna find them. No problem.
Thank you so much.
Of
Sorry.
course.
Um,
I apologize. You're good.
No, no, no problem. But just so folks, I'll touch on them here, and there's more details in both of these links that you will find in our Iran Unfiltered newsletter and in our human rights tracker. But the scale of civilian damage and the attacks on civilian infrastructure and on cultural heritage sites and on hospitals, reportedly over 20 hospitals and clinics have been struck, and on oil depots, the images that have come out of um, in and around Tehran of it raining oil. You know, there was a CNN reporter who was there who got some images of this. Absolutely shocking, ecocidal crime um, on that respect. But none have been more egregious than the bombing of the girls' elementary school on the first day of this war in Minab that has now been found to have been our our strike that um, hit that school. It was a double tap strike, and there are serious questions being raised about our rules of engagement, our process for selecting targets, our process for selecting no strike lists. There was also a boys' elementary school that was hit that bore the name of Khamenei on the name of the school. I've spoken to people, who live in both those towns who have fa family there, and it's a very apparent war crime. There have been letters already released in the Senate and in the House. Links can be shared as well. And there's an effort from 250 over 250 organizations. AFSC is among them. NIAC is among them, demanding that Congress oppose funding for the war. Uh, and we are working, we're doing everything we can to just ask lawmakers, ask your representatives to be aware of this, to call for investigations and accountability. And frankly, this is the kind of thing that Hegseth should be fired for, given his remarks. That's my personal position. But it's really important um, that we keep the pressure on and take the political space now, because these every Senate Democrat besides Fetterman signed this letter, and the lone Iranian American House Democrat Yasmin Ansari and Sarah Jacobs from California, who's a Jewish member of Congress who's wonderful, and Jason Crow, who's an Iraq War veteran, led the war crimes letter in the House. So there's real teeth here. And one other legislative element for you to just keep an eye on in Congress are war powers votes. There was a Iran war powers vote that came very close in the House. 4 Democrats voted against it, and it also came very close in the Senate. And there will it's my understanding that there will be a series of these votes going forward, and that we'll have to continue to put lawmakers on the record of whether or not they want to authorize and support this war. So yeah, there's a link with some language there, and I encourage you to take it and run with it, to do to talk about each of these
Hmm.
legislative elements, because that's what we can do. That to really stop the war. It's an election year. People are running for Congress all around the country. They're doing town halls. They should be made to answer these questions from concerned Americans who don't want to be spending this money and don't want to have this illegal, aimless, very violent, expanding war waged in their name. And the U.S. still has every capability to find some off-ramps here, if we take diplomacy seriously and really try to rebuild trust that has been broken through the course of 2 negotiations where we bombed Iran illegally. So that's how we're thinking about it. I would also like to share one last thing. I know maybe I'm running on time.
You have
Am I-
a minute to go.
Okay, the last thing I'd like to share is that contrary to what you may hear on CNN and from some warmongering members of my wonderful Iranian American diaspora that I have much love for, um, the diaspora is not a monolith. People don't agree on everything. And NIAC recently commissioned a poll with Zogby Analytics on views of the Iranian American community. And we found that it's basically split down the middle on approval for the war, with a slight majority opposing it. So most Iranian Americans, you can say, oppose the war per this poll, and there is no mandate amongst the community for this war. But you will see lots and lots of videos shared by Trump and shared by this monarchist lobby and shared by others who really want to make it paint the narrative picture that this war is about Iranian freedom and it is a humanitarian mission to free them. And for those reasons, I encourage you to look at this poll and to check out NIAC's work. We're trying to organize with Iranian Americans around the country. If you know someone, Iranian American near you, and you think they'd be interested, please let me know. We're trying to get more people involved behind the scenes with their electeds or out front, however they'd like to be. And so I would just if someone also says that there is a mandate, or you hear someone arguing that this war is for Iranian freedom, you show them this poll. You say the community is not a monolith and don't agree on everything. And we also have polling on support for diplomacy, which is still at a strong majority. So most people still believe that diplomacy is a viable option. So I'll close with that, and thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you, Etienne and Mike. That was really, really powerful, powerful, powerful. I'm here wanting to scream and cry and I'm also feeling hopeful when you talked about the women and the role the women played. So I'm feeling a lot of emotions. I'm sure many of you are as well. Maybe put in the chat something that resonated with you from this information that was shared from this. We have tons of links and so we're going to continue to educate ourselves. And I love, Etienne, that you reminded us that the Iranian community is not a monolithic group. And so we have to get accurate information. We can't put people in a box. We gotta figure out what's really going on and connect with people like Etienne and others who we can stand in solidarity with and continue to do this work of resisting. So put in the chat, resist, 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 because we are going to resist. We're going to resist. We're going to resist. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Whew, just need a moment to just of centering silence there. All right, thank you so much, and thank you for putting in the chat what resonated with you. There's so much. We're going to continue to resist this authoritarianism that we see playing out in our country and the impact that this administration is having on so many of our communities here and around the world. We are going to use our voices. We're going to use our lobby. We're going to use our votes to be able to resist. So I want to shift gears again to my friend and colleague Dee Green, who is the Area Director for American Friends Service Committee's Piece by Piece New Orleans program. Dee is from Arkansas. Am I correct, Dee? I got that right, correct? You're from Arkansas? Yes, she gave me the thumbs up. I'd like to remember where people are from. She's from Arkansas, but she has lived in New Orleans since 2007, and she considers New Orleans her home. And she serves on the executive board of the Holly Grove Neighbors Association and Ubuntu Village in New Orleans, is a member of Institutional Review Board, the Institute of Women and Ethnic Studies. Dee does a lot at AFSC and beyond, and I want to just give her space to be able to share some of the work that she does and how it's an opportunity to resist and to build on a local level with a community that FSC has stood in solidarity with since Katrina, when many organizations left New Orleans, this FSC and really stood there and continues to do the work that we're doing today. And so I've put aside a few questions that I'm going to ask Dee Dee. Dee Dee, feel free to go beyond the questions that I've asked if you want to share any additional information. But there's certain things that I wanted you to share. I just want to start by asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself. I know Dee Dee as a mother because I've met your adorable son, and as a daughter because you and I talk about our own mothers and the joy that our mothers bring to us and the lessons that we learn from these strong Black women. But share a little bit more about who you are. Who is Dee Dee Green?
Thank you, Anyango and Etienne. Listening to you speak about what is happening in the world right now was really enlightening, and I appreciated hearing it. I try not to watch the news because it can get feel defeating and depressing. So I really appreciate what you shared with us this evening. Thank you, Anyango, for the intro. I am originally from Arkansas, but I've been in New Orleans since '07. I came here as someone who had a strong and lengthy background in youth organizing work. Came here, I think my friend and colleague who started a project with middle school youth on education reform. She wanted them to have a voice in the rebuilding of their schools. So as school leaders were developing master plans, she wanted to ensure that young people were a part of that plan. And she asked me to come here and help her do this work. And I've been here since then. I came on a fellowship and worked with Kids Rethink New Orleans Schools for 3 years. After my fellowship was completed, I wanted to step away from nonprofit work. I really was immersed. I really understood the industrial complex of it all, and so I didn't want to do it anymore. Went back to Arkansas for a year and got a couple of phone calls from people who were saying AFSC is looking for a program director, and people are tossing your name around. So in 2013, I got this job, and I've been here ever since. When I stepped into the program, it was a very youth-centered program. It's since evolved, but we always try to keep our young people engaged in this work because it's important. So while we were once doing alternatives to violence programming, we are now doing sustainability work in Holly Grove, which is a traditional New Orleans neighborhood. So happy to answer any questions you have.
Yeah. So I know, so what you talked about doing primarily youth work when you started, but I think one of the things I appreciate about your work is the multi-generational aspect of that work and how when you address food sovereignty work, you bring in some of African American cultural traditions and how we think about food and some of the politics behind food and food apart. You do a lot with around food justice, food sovereignty. Can you speak some more about that?
Sure. So again, we work in our work is really neighborhood based or community based, but we feel like could be easily replicated and scaled. So what we do in Holly Grove is we partner with Holly Grove Neighbors Association. It's just a neighborhood association, mostly folks who are retired. We work with them to increase food security in the neighborhood. Statistically, I think in Orleans Parish, the food insecurity rate is 16%. So that's more than 57,000 people. And it's double that for children. It's like 32%. So
Wow.
1/3 of every child is food insecure. And so I think many of us see food as a luxury, and food, people have a right to eat. Everybody has to eat to live. And so when we started this work, again, we started working with young people to build a backyard garden in a neighborhood where a couple of us were living. I lived in Holly Grove. My colleague at the time lived in Holly Grove. And we built a backyard garden, and that work sort of evolved. We began leasing land from the city, the Live Oak Friends meeting in Houston bought and donated a property for us. It donated a property to Holly Grove neighbors, and we've been working on that property ever since. We're putting it into a land trust. So we started doing this, growing food. We wanted to promote sustainability in this Black neighborhood, mostly Black neighborhood. As we were doing that, we began realizing that our work has implications for the environment as well as the economy. So a lot of the work that we do, I guess, lies at the intersection of those three things: food, climate, and the economy. And so we host programming where we have those conversations with people around food. We grow food in the neighborhood, so we always have something that we're growing in the garden to present to people when we break bread with them and we have these conversations. And those community kitchen, our sister circle, all of these, our Get to Know Your Garden series, all of these are opportunities where we're supporting folks in the neighborhood. We're having these conversations. It's a very intergenerational space. So we have young mothers, we have our elders are often preparing the food as well. And again, it's an opportunity for us to talk about things like a solidarity economy. Many of us, there are a few of us within AFSC that we are part of a small network, Farming for Social Change, and all of us are doing food, land, water work to some extent. And we know the importance of, we understand the importance of traditional practices. We understand the importance of culturally relevant food. We understand that, again, people have a right to eat. And so what we're doing in Holly Grove is growing our own food, teaching people how to, not even teaching, I would say reintroducing food production, because this is, growing our own food is not new to many of us.
Absolutely.
And the importance of growing our own food. So yeah, we have gardens that we manage, and we create programming around those garden spaces in order to achieve, I guess I'll say, achieve food sovereignty.
Yeah. What you said about food not being a luxury for a lot of people really resonated with me. I read somewhere, and it just has stayed with me, that they are 3 to 4 times as many grocery stores in white communities than in Black and brown communities. So access to food, this idea of food apartheid, or food, some people call it food desert, some people call it food apartheid, is so important. And I like how you touch on that. You'll also talk about the politics of food. So there's another piece of your work, the ion surveillance work, in the couple of minutes we have left. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you see it as a way to protect, resist, and to build? How do you see that piece of the work in that framework?
It is, Ion Surveillance is a coalition that Piece by Piece is a founding member of this coalition. We kind of work with other organizations and individuals. We come together under 2 points of unity, and one is to halt the city's use and expansion of surveillance technology, but to also explore evidence-based, community-driven alternatives to policing and surveillance. And we got, people are like, those are really disparate topics. How did you get into surveillance? Well, we noticed a crime camera was placed very close to our first garden property. So we began exploring and investigating and researching why this camera, what does it do? And there were other organizations in the city who were doing the same thing, trying to understand the capability of these cameras and trying to stop the city's use of the cameras. So in 2020, we helped to pass a landmark ordinance that banned the city's use of four surveillance technologies. Since then, some of those guardrails have been removed as administrations change, but we're constantly working to raise awareness about the dangers of surveillance technologies. We've developed a digital application, SALT. It's an AI tool used to sort of mine information from city council meetings, since they're in the middle of the day when people are at work. We wanted to figure out a way to get information to people around policies that are being discussed and passed at the city council level. We host a series of digital security trainings. We have several campaigns that have included surveillance is trash. We've had people say that we need cameras because we have a lot of dumping in our neighborhoods. So we began these cleanups years ago, and we would pile all the trash under the surveillance camera and make sure that the council person for that district saw the image and understood like how much trash we were clearing out when they're using the crime cameras or using the cameras as a way to prevent dumping. But what we know about these technologies is they don't prevent crimes, and they are ripe for misuse in a lot of situations. We're currently working on a campaign to keep drones as first responders out of the French Quarter. And the city is already saying that they want to expand that program. We have drones, don't get me wrong, NOPD is using drones, but now they're trying to use it as first responders. And again,
Wow.
this is really, it's dangerous technology. It's ripe for misuse.
Yep.
The algorithms are trained, on biased data. So, and they're largely built by white men. So the folks who are often misidentified are people of color, women. So it's problematic, and we're continuing as a coalition to either ban the use of these programs altogether, or stop the city from expanding the surveillance apparatus.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Didi. You're getting a lot of love in the chat because this is resonating with so many people. I really love that the resist resist, protect, and build. I have to get that in my head. Resist, protect, resist, and build team and committee helps us to understand that the are things happening globally, the things happening locally that we need to pay attention to as a community, as a faith-based community, as an activist community, as a movement. We have the capacity to think about what's happening globally, what's happening in our local communities, and we can protect, resist, and build in several different spaces. And I really love that you helped us to think about Iran, Etienne and Mike and Didi, what's happening in New Orleans and how we can resist on that level. And those things are not disconnected. When we're talking about resisting authoritarianism, we must develop the muscle and the capacity to think about multiple things that are happening at the same time on the local, the national and international. And so thank you so much, Didi. Thank you, Etienne. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jess. Thank you for Jesse, and thank you for the entire team. I'm going to start to wind us down because our time is far spent. But I want to thank you again for for all that you have shared. I'm going to do like we do in my community. If you this resonated with you, put a 5 in the chat. It could be a 1, a 2, 3, or 5, but that's a way that we engage with one another. So put the number 5 in the chat if this session, if this time, our time together resonated with you. Some people say a big 5. I see a lot of 5s are coming across the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you want to participate in more webinars by Protect, Resist, and Build, Mary, I got it. Protect, Resist, and Build. If you want to participate in more webinars that are happening every month, you're going to get more information like this, information that is relevant, that is accurate information. It's so hard to know what to believe, what to think, but we have good information here. We have information from people who are working on these issues. So you know that you're going to get information here that you can use in your own advocacy work. So we're going to put our landing page in the chat. Make sure you sign up for future webinars and become a partner for peace and social justice and both locally and globally. And your presence and your donations are very, very much appreciated. And so we want to encourage you to participate. We also encourage you to give. It takes resources to fund the movement. So we just have to be clear and honest about that. And so again, thank you. I want to bring us to an end. And when I was thinking about what are the things that I want to protect, resist, and build, I want to protect the members of my community. I want to protect my peace and my joy. I want to protect those that have been directly impacted by authoritarianism, both here and around the world. I want to resist any attempts to cause pain and destruction of those communities that I've been a part of, and I want to continue to build places like this, spaces like this, where we can continue to learn and grow together. We're in this together. In Swahili, I'm from Kenya. In Swahili, we say pamoja tutashinda, which means together we win. We win together. We can't do this by ourselves. There's a lot. You heard a lot of information here. You can feel overwhelmed. Didi said it very openly and honestly. We can watch the news and it's heartbreaking. But we resist because we resist together. We win because we win together. There's power in community. There's power when we come together. And so I want to encourage you to join us and be in solidarity with us as we learn together, as we grow together. And so as a closing, they always ask the facilitators to pick an opening song and a closing song. And I chose John Baptiste, who is an artist from New Orleans. And the song is Freedom. Because when I tell you I am protecting my joy, even if it's little moments of joy, I'm protecting my joy. And I love this song because it just shows so much joy and so much of that the culture of New Orleans that makes me smile every time I see it and brings me puts a little pep in my step. So we're going to end with that freedom song because we are believing that we will win. We will win together. And so thank you for joining us, and feel free to leave as you feel called to do so, or stay and continue to enjoy the song with us. Good night, everyone.